Jim,
welcome.
Would you like to get us started today?
I thought you said you wanted me to start, shall I?
I said, go ahead. I said I'd call on you.
All right. Welcome to our esteemed agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, January 20th, 2022, and this is Mastermind call number 362. Jim, I will turn it over to you. My internet's down today. It's all yours.
Good job, bud. Hey, thanks for everybody being here today. We're going to have a great call as usual. If you want to talk with us about anything, your wins, your challenges, anything at all that you'd like to talk about, this call is for you. We respond to what you say, and we're here to help you, and we've got the team on board here to help you, and we're ready to do that at any point. If you'd like to be part of the call and get your questions answered, hit *6 and then 1, and you'll be placed in the queue, and you'll be the next person up when it's your turn. And we're going to start off with our old buddy, Roger. Roger's been with us a very long time, and he's probably one of our most consistent folks here. And Roger, you can go ahead, brother.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I won't talk a whole lot about the Hogs right now because we're trying to find our basketball identity, and but we're really happy with what we had this year in football.
Indeed, you should be, brother.
And just for everybody, I'm in Northwest Arkansas in a small area called Fayetteville, Springdale, Bentonville, and I get about 40, 45 leads per month and work them handily, and along with my referrals. The story that I wanted to share today was a probate that I was called in on by in another county, and the guy that called me said this family needed some help. I went and investigated it. It was an empty house, and found that the lady died and had a Down syndrome son and a half daughter, that moved out of the area after mom died, and they moved south and lived in the Fort Smith area, which is about 30 miles away, and I couldn't find them. Finally found somebody in the family that lived in Bentonville and got me in touch with the daughter, and they were in dire straits, and I find out that the house, it was brought to my attention because the house was on the foreclosure list, and I called and said, well, there's a couple of ways that we can do this. If we file probate, we may be able to stop the foreclosure and do that. And she said, we don't have monies to do to pay an attorney. I got them in touch with one of my attorneys, two of my attorneys. They both sat there and said, we just need a retainer. And I said, we have resources that'll help you with that, and introduced the advanced pay guys, the advanced loan guys. And she said, we don't want to take out a loan to solve this thing. Bottom line is that she didn't want to file probate. She was in poor, almost at poverty level, and I said, well, the only other thing that I can think of the title is in your mom's name, and your brother was a half brother, but it was the biological son of the mother that would be getting the proceeds in what I'm thinking. But she said, I don't want to go do that. Just let it go ahead and get foreclosed on. That was kind of disappointing. So I did a little bit of research, and I find out that the bank in Arkansas is required to give any excess over the sale amount, over the mortgage amount, to the family that is remaining, or the heirs that are remaining. And so I contacted an attorney, and I said, how about you contacting the bank? I went to the foreclosure sale. And had a buyer, brought a buyer with me. He did not get to purchase the property. He did not have the high bid at the foreclosure sale. So I contacted the guy that did, and I said, there's a family in Fort Smith that would really like to get some additional personal property out of the house before you start in on it. And do you mind? I think I'm going to try to help the family get whatever excess is on the thing. I think there was like $86,000 that was being foreclosed on the mortgage, but the bidding at the foreclosure sale went up to $171,000. So I contacted my attorney afterwards and got the stepdaughter and connected with my attorney, and they're contacting the bank to have the excess over the amount owed go to the family that needs the money in Fort Smith. Don't make a commission on that one, but I made some really good contacts with some investors in the area that were standing around watching me at the foreclosure sale and were impressed with me by the way that I was trying to take care of the family. And they just sit there and they went, I want you to come and call me when you have another one that's available, and I've got a couple of houses that I think I want you to sell for me. And then the attorney that I turned him over to said, gee whiz, Roger, if I get anything else that comes up, I'll give you a call. So it's not all the calls that I make are probate, but I just try to cast a wide net and try to help people. And
so, Roger, I want to ask you a question. This is an interesting thing. You pointed something out, and this is the third time that I've heard this in the last couple of days. That's why I'm going to ask. In Arkansas right now, what you said is that if it's a foreclosure and the foreclosure price is higher than the folks owed, they're going to be able to get the equity back. Who do you have to petition to get that?
The bank. It goes through it's got to go through the bank, and the REO department at the bank has to be notified that there are heirs that are surviving, because they knew that mom had died, and they were not aware of any. The stepdaughter contacted the bank and said, we want to get back in the house, and we want to get to it, and they wouldn't do it. They're aware that there's family members out there, but I turned that specific question over to the attorney, and he said, yeah, I can do that. It's a matter of contacting the legal department at the bank and make them aware that there is an heir, and that the proceeds are supposed to go to the family over the amount of the payoff for the loan.
How long has that been in Arkansas? How long has that been, or do you think that's a national thing, or is that just in your state?
I think that's just in our state.
So, do you know how long that's been the case?
I think this is a landlord's. This is a property owner's state. The state is really conservative in its laws, and it's a property owner's state, and so I think it's been there for some time.
The reason I'm asking is we had a fellow approach us from another state who is making a business out of exactly what you're talking about. He is finding, because it's all public record, the data that you're talking about, apparently if it's a tax sale, it's a public record, and he's doing it on tax sales, finding the overages in the area that he's in, and he's contacting the people like you're dealing with. They came, you knew about them in advance. He's contacting the people, and he's made a business out of doing that. And most of the time, he says the people don't know anything about it, so he arranges with them to basically act as their agent. He does it for a small fee, and I assume it's a small fee. I don't know what his fee is, but he does it for a fee, and he gets a piece of the action when he finds the money for them. It's like I'm sort of like unclaimed freight, but if that data is available to you, it might be worth looking into that for relatively recent things or even older things where that amount of money might allow someone to purchase a home that they didn't know about or do down payment. It might be a place for you to go prospect if you could find that data.
That the tax sales are public record as well, and it's comes from the state because the counties around the state turn it over to the land commissioner in Little Rock, and the Little Rock holds it for approximately a year before they go into it, and by that time the county taxes are behind. At least it used to be 5 years, but they've reduced it down to 3 years just recently to have it go on the block for sale. It does not wipe clean any liens that are in there, and so you have to be very careful with the title search to make sure that you whatever liens are in there on a tax sale. But on a foreclosure sale, you're getting a clean deed with no liens on it. So, and I'm familiar with the process of contacting the owners or some heirs that may want the property. And getting that. It's just that it's a pretty that whole market in Arkansas is really well populated.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I just brought it up because usually when all of a sudden I start to hear, I kind of run in spurts in terms of talking to customers and dealing with more administrative things in regard to what we do. And lately, I've been spending some time over the holidays talking to folks, and it's come up 2 or 3 times, and I've known you a long time, and I know you're a guy that leads with a servant's heart, and you do great things. So that's a very interesting approach to doing that. Thanks for sharing with us today, Jim.
I have one other thing I want to throw in here, and it's something that I'm beginning to pick up on watching some of the traffic and on the Facebook pages and stuff, and I'm seeing more and more opportunities for short sales in a process in foreclosure, and not necessarily in foreclosure. Well, in a foreclosure process, of course, but also in probate. And I gotta tell you that Blue Anchor's my short sale people, and I think Jim can talk a little bit better about what that's offering. But I think that offering is something that I highly endorse and have had great luck with. And it's basically they do all the negotiation and on a short sale within a probate context if it gets that far. And it's I'm a big advocate for Blue Anchor and Jim's other side business.
Well, I appreciate that, and I know that Jim is anxious to always, appreciate that a bunch. And Jim's wife Pam kind of set that business up and has been running it for a long period of time. And obviously, short sales had slowed down for a while. But if you're seeing them pick back up again, that's great, interesting to know. Jim, you had a couple of other things to talk about in regard to kind of the unclaimed dollars that are sitting there. What were you going to say?
Yeah, no, hey, Roger, very much appreciate it. I'll start with the last first. My wife and daughter, who's also on the call, she's part of our company also, have done, over the last 14 years, have done over 2,000 short sales. And you're right, they don't take any of your commission. They basically have a way of getting paid out of the deal. If anybody has a short sale, go to shortmyproperty.com, or you can call directly 954-584-0000. And then on your first part of your comment, Roger, it's interesting you brought it up. Something very similar but completely different that that I ran into recently. I was working the tax sales, and I ran into a guy who he hadn't made a payment in years. It was some vacant land that was probably worth $50,000, and
right.
It was going to tax sale, and he wanted to know if I wanted to buy it. And I said, well, your lender is going to be in first position. Your lender, I figured he still owed about what it was worth. But anyway, I connected him with my attorney. It went to say, it absolutely amazes me what things are going for at sales these days, because it was worth 40 to 50, and it sold at tax sale for $42,000, and he only owed $5,000 in taxes. So again, he had the overage coming, but in this case, in Florida, you have a 30-day window to put a claim in for the overage, and So my attorney got with him, and again, for a fee, he's handling everything. He's going to get him $37,000 overage. And the way it works is if the lender notices and requests it, they'll get the money first, but there's probably a 95% chance they, you hadn't made a payment in years, that they won't notice, they won't put a claim in, so the guy will end up getting the money. So yeah, it's just a different twist on what you mentioned. Florida is similar. And most people don't realize that anything over what is owed, whether it's a mortgage or a tax lien, goes back in order of liens, but eventually it's funds that should go back to the family, and very, very, very often it doesn't get claimed. So in this case, I think the county would have kept the money eventually. And in your case, the lender just would have come out ahead if you hadn't put the claim in. And I was just going to say, Roger, that's a classic example of what we talk about all the time, provide value first. And great example of doing that. So congrats. I just wanted to compliment you, buddy.
Thank you. We always appreciate those kind of stories because it pays off. And, Roger, when you first started with us, you stumbled through this and figured out how to make this work, and you've made it a pillar of your business. And I don't think we can point to anybody who's made more out of what they've done with this and done it more consistently than you have. And you've been with us probably, it seems like, since the day we started. So we appreciate you a bunch, buddy.
God bless you, and y'all stay on the phone. That's what works.
All right. We have had 3 more in the queue. We've got 1 left in the queue. Something bounced our queue. Last 4 digits in your phone number are 2044.
Hi.
Hey there.
Hello. Good afternoon. Yeah,
How are ya?
I am just actually an ISA for my boss. We are actually new with this program. We just received our first batch of leads, probate leads. Yeah, so she just asked me to ask a question. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous.
Don't be nervous. We don't bite.
Yeah. Actually, I was just I'm pretty new with probate because I usually call just circle prospecting, FISPO, and expired leads, and the ones who are inquiring in some various websites. So with the probates, I am just curious if how usually, you open the call, like your opening spiel, how should it went?
Bruce, you want to take that one, buddy?
Sure. Yep. So I generally teach a 5-step approach to probate. You didn't happen to make it to the role play call yesterday, did you?
No.
Okay.
I actually requested, joined the scheduled one on February, but it's still on the 2nd, I guess.
Great. Yeah, that's right. So the 5-step approach to probate is going to be to get your introduction first. And your introduction should really be 10, 15 seconds long, no longer than that. And basically you're just going to greet somebody by name, offer them a little bit of a disruptor to keep them from saying, hey, we don't need anything, and hanging up on you. You want to ask a question like, hey, do you happen to recognize my name? Or we sent you a letter last week. I don't imagine you've had a chance to open that yet, have you? Ask them some kind of question like that just to kind of get their curiosity going. And then I'm going to encourage you to ask permission to tell them what you are offering. So the way that sounds for me is, hey, I don't know if this is going to be right for you or not. Do you have a quick minute for me to tell you what I'm calling about? Once you get permission and they let you take that minute, they're probably not going to disconnect from you. At that point, what you're offering is a concierge service. Okay. We have a concierge service that helps families through probate. We really take care of anything that the attorney doesn't. That could be anything from real estate help to personal property help, or even repair and maintenance assistance with things on the property. Do you have everything handled so far, or is this a little bit overwhelming for you? So those are kind of steps 1 and 2. You introduce yourself, then you move into your pitch where you talk about your concierge service. At that point, you've got to ask a question to get them engaged. And that question to get them engaged is the one that I just gave you. Do you have everything handled so far, or is this process all kind of new for you? Right? Most people will reject you. It's really no problem. We almost want the rejection. So if they say, hey, we have it handled so far, that's sort of your opening to be able to go into and talk about real estate. So you're going to take that resistance that they give you and completely validate it. Don't tell them they're wrong. Other sales trainers will tell you how to handle them and tell you to show them why they're wrong. That's not what we want to do. We want to validate them and kind of build rapport first. Okay, so you're going to validate them. I completely understand. It sounds like you aren't looking for help today. Do you mind if I ask? In the future, are you thinking about holding on to the real estate that's in the estate, or are you thinking about selling? So if you'll notice, I never really emphasize real estate in the beginning of a call. I emphasize a concierge service, fully expecting them to resist it. And that gives me the opportunity to validate their resistance and then shift that conversation over to a real estate question. So if you're leading with real estate, there's more of a likelihood that they're going to reject it. If you put real estate in at the end of the conversation after they've rejected something else, you're usually going to get the truth about what they're going to do with the property. Okay, and that's just a really fast explanation of how we handle a call. The Probate Foundations class is going to go into a lot more detail than that, and it'll actually have some role play there as well. So please come to that. Don't be scared of their rejections and their resistance. They all give it. Just give them something to resist that doesn't hurt your business. So if they reject your real estate offer, that hurts your business. If they reject your concierge offer, that doesn't hurt you. It gives you a chance to validate them and then pivot over to a real estate topic after.
Great. And Bruce, obviously the Foundations class is free for our subscribers. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Okay. So you need to certainly do that. And if you're on the call, and we have a lot of people on this call who sort of get their feet wet on this call before they become a subscriber. And if you want to learn more about it, the class is also available to non-subscribers. It's $149, but it is well worth the time. You get a fountain of knowledge in a real quick period of time. It really gets you to the point that you're ready to begin probate, getting it done and make that happen. Jim, any other questions that you have that we can answer?
Yeah, I have a request. If there's any script that you have in there, if you can please send us like a copy that we can, anything that will help.
So do me a favor and email me at bruce@alltheleads.com. I have an ISA script.
Okay.
For those of you that are on the call that are not ISAs, you're running your own business, I customarily don't encourage scripts. But I do have an ISA script, and basically it has branches where if they say this, you have another link that you can click on. It takes you to a new variation of that script that fits with the objection that they've given. So email me and I'll make sure that you get a copy of it. And again, guys, if you're not an ISA, come to Foundations and kind of work off of those talking points versus a script. And even you, as being an ISA, I'd like you to build up that skill where you don't follow the script for very long. Use it as a crutch for the short term. And then once you start getting used to the talking points, it's going to be your guide. That's right.
Jim, you had something you wanted to add, I think, Jim?
Yeah. Hey, Bruce, when you were talking about get the no up front, expect and deal with the rejection so you can move on. It just reminded me of something that we hadn't talked about in a year or so. It's probably a little more subtle. It's almost like NLP-ish, but there's a great tape program called Never Split the Difference. You can get it on any of the audio books, and it was actually done by a hostage negotiator on how to get people on your side. And one very simple but very clever technique, which I remember from that, is most people will call and say, "Did I catch you at a good time?" And the person will either say, "Yeah," or "Yeah, if it's real quick." He suggested you say and call and say, "Did I catch you at a bad time?" And they'll say no, because then you got the no out of the way, which is it's just it seems ridiculous, but people want to say no. So you just in that initial opening line, give them a chance to say no, and then you can then you can move forward. And if any of you haven't listened to that tape series, I highly recommend it. There's dozens and dozens of very smart common sense techniques in there by somebody who negotiated with hostage takers. So anyway, that's just all I wanted to add to that.
Okay, great. We have another person in the queue, and again, if you would like to chat with any of us and get your questions answered, *6 & 1. Dave Gwynn, I saw you were in there and you kind of got out. If you had a question that we didn't get to, or the system kind of glitched a little bit, jump back in the queue. We'd love to hear from you. The next up is the last 4 digits of your phone number are 3536. 3536. Are you with us? Says Larkus.
Yeah, I'm on my Bluetooth in my car. I'm driving, so can you guys hear me?
We hear you fine. Go right ahead.
Okay, so I have a property that someone has sent me. It's in Tarpon Springs, Florida. It's closer to the Gulf. So my question basically is, how do you determine what's a good buy for? It's a multi-unit. And how do you determine, like, what are the formulas that you use? What are, like, good cap rates or good IRRs or good ROIs on a multi-unit? And, in your exit strategy being, a buy and hold?
What are you trying to determine? Go ahead, Tim.
I don't know if maybe I should re-ask the question. So just, and I'm gonna try to use as least amount of words as possible. I'm trying to figure out. Somebody sent me a property is worth $4.4 million, but I don't know how to crunch the numbers to make it worth my while. Like, how do you find out the ROI? How do you find out the cap rate? Like, what are good cap rates? What are good ROIs for a multifamily if your exit strategy is a buy and hold? If that's a better way to ask it.
Yeah, my question was: is this a property that is somehow a part of a probate?
It is not part of a probate. It's from a wholesaler, the disposition department. They sent it to me to see if I was interested in purchasing the property. So I'm just trying to figure out how to, what formulas to use to get certain. What's the criteria on if it's a good buy or not a good buy?
Can we start with one thing? Do you know how to crunch a cap rate? Do you already have that knowledge?
I do.
Okay. It really depends on the market. So in my market, a decent cap rate is a six cap. I don't know that area of Florida to know if investors are looking for a 9 or a 10 cap, but generally speaking, I'm going to be looking on multifamily for a 6 cap. And that applies to a lot of markets. If it's sort of an emerging or a growing or a hot market, a 6 is pretty good. You'll find deals that are worse than a 6 cap. But that's sort of my baseline if I'm looking at multifamily. If it's a 7 or 8, even better. But that's where I would step in and buy. You want to see a history that shows that it's always at a 90% occupancy rate or better. You also want to see that there's room for rent upside. So are there any upgrades, modifications, or repairs that you can make to any of the units that would increase the rent? and are rents close by? Are they going more than this property is? So you don't only want your cap rate to be the only upside that you have. You want to see that you can increase that cap rate and increase rents with some improvements or modifications to the property. And if you can, and you pair it with a 6 or a 7 cap, it's probably a pretty good deal.
Right, and the other thing about it is that also has a big factor in regard to cap rate is where it is physically. And if it's a high demand marketplace with high rents and lots of stuff going on, the cap rate is usually going to be significantly lower to still be a great deal. You may find a 4% cap rate deal in New York, San Francisco, LA, downtown Chicago, and that's still a great deal. In a rural area, you could easily see 10s and 12s, and it literally, that's a lot of demand has a lot to do with it, high price and demand.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And if it's a low cap in a really high demand area, it probably is going to mean that it's going to increase in value faster than the high cap, low demand areas.
Exactly.
Awesome. That's awesome information. One more question just to add on to that. Now, I don't know if I want to carry that much of a burden as far as the unit size. I think it's like, it's like over 30 units. Is there any advice you could give, like, on how to stay in between the deal for creative financing, as far as like finding someone else to actually purchase it, but still staying in between the deal per se? I don't know, as a maybe a property manager or I don't know, asset manager or something like that. Like, if you guys have any suggestions on how to go about doing that?
Let me ask you a quick question. How is this deal offered to you? Tell me, did somebody say you can buy this, or is it somebody that you know that gives you the opportunity to participate?
I have a relationship with a wholesale company with their acquisition and disposition arm, and they send me properties via email, or they'll call me if they consider it a grand slam deal. So this is how I acquired the information for the property. And now I have an NDA on two of the properties. I have an two NDAs out on two of the properties. So, but that's how I do it.
And you're not local to Tarpon Springs, right?
Correct. I'm not local to Tarpon Springs.
Right. So you said something about being a property manager, and one of the things that is a challenge with certainly property that you're not familiar with, and maybe taking the first round at this, trying to be the property manager for that and managing it, you're exposing yourself to all the things that you may not know about that property. And, the better angle to doing this may be to attempt to secure a marketing agreement with the person that's making it available to you, and potentially being able to remarket the property for more than they're willing to sell it to you for, then find a way to structure that deal if you don't want to carry it. I mean, that's one suggestion I would have. Jim, Chuck, Bruce?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say, no matter, chances are if it's not a good deal as far as the value, you're not going to have a good cap rate. But even if it appears to have a great cap rate, it's just me, I still wouldn't pay retail for anything, because a lot is being represented to you that may or may not be accurate. So if it was me, I would start in determining what it's worth and make sure there's a pretty significant, margin between what you can get it for and what it's worth. Because if there isn't, there's just a lot of ways that things may not pan out. You can get in trouble here. If it is, if you want to reach out to us, we can put you in. You may want to, if you don't really have good boots on the ground, we may be able to put you in touch with somebody in Florida who would do a joint venture with you. I mean, Tarpon Springs is a good area. But are you pretty seasoned at doing this? Have you done multi-units before?
Absolutely not. I know. I mean, the only thing I've done, I was a property manager. I was a homeowner, and I've managed like over 8-9 units before, and I install floors. I'm just trying to cross over into the investment side of the industry, and I'm getting a lot of deals sent to me, so I'm just trying to figure it out. And I'm not scared to dive in. I mean, those numbers, the size, doesn't matter to me. I work for Southwest Airlines. I'm a flight attendant for Southwest Airlines. I fly free, so I can go look at properties. I can still go and find property management companies to manage the property. I mean, I can. There's quick solutions to everything you guys said. I'm not afraid to dive in. I'm just new to the game, and I just need information.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good.
So,
anything you want to add, Bruce?
Jim, do you? Yeah, I'm gonna say here on this one. Okay, not afraid to dive in. That's a massive asset that you have, because a lot of people are afraid to dive in. I also want to show you the other side of the coin, and let you know that it's perfectly fine to intentionally walk away from home run deals that have the potential to get you in trouble. So you've got to balance both of those traits. Don't be afraid to jump just because you're not seasoned in a specific area, but also don't be afraid to walk away if the deal isn't coming together. So first thing that I would do is, just like Tim said, see if they're willing to sign a JV agreement and let you market the property to your investors. Not being local, I would probably steer you away from putting together a deal with an investor where you manage the property. You have property management experience, so that's good, and you know that property management is sometimes a pain, especially when you have to go through evictions and a bunch of different things, and trying to do that from a distance isn't enjoyable. So I probably would not advise going the property management route. What I would likely do, if you have investors, is consider putting together an investment club for this property alone. So let's say that you have a couple of investors that want that are all interested in doing this. You might sell shares in the project, and then you take a management fee of putting the deal together and running the project. So example of this would be me. I'll sell shares for $50,000 in a property, and even if I don't put my own money in, I'll take a 25 to 30% management fee, or 30% fee of whatever that deal is, for coordinating everything. And I usually take that as a stake of equity instead of cash. So there are different ways that you could do it. Without being local, I would probably encourage you to consider a club where where different investors can buy a share of the project, and then you get a share for putting it together, or you could take it just a stake of equity for putting it together.
I just have one other thing to be aware of, and that is that if it's offered to you by the bank that's giving it to you as an asset, you obviously have the ability to, if you can work out an arrangement with them, you need to negotiate that price with them down, obviously, to as low as you can get it. And then obviously you can give yourself, and I would do this as well, give yourself a good long period of due diligence in regard to the contract. That's common in regard to commercial. And during that due diligence period, that gives you time to find that buyer and potentially have the buyer standing waiting the day that you're able to close on it. And all you've got to do is come up with the cash to close, and then you can flip it immediately and get it done. So you just need to make sure you're, being careful with it. But that long period will give you the ability to basically have the property off the market. They've given it to you. You've got the ability to play with it. You can negotiate with them all the time that you're doing that. You're looking for that buyer or buyers that are out there. And in commercial property today, you can control a property for 90 days. It's likely to go up in value. So it's crazy. We would have thought commercial property would head the other direction. And in this day and age, that people are looking for places to live. So places are getting rent up. It's a good thing to go for. I'm gonna move on. We've got another person in the queue. Please press star 6 and 1. And in regard to that call, we'll probably reach out to you after the call and maybe chat with you, Jim. You may want to reach out to him and have some more conversation.
Yep, absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes,
yep,
sir.
no problem. Thanks for hopping back in. 7428, you're up. Mr. Colorado.
Hello. Hey,
Hey there, how are you?
doing great, thanks. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Good, great. Doing great here. Plugging away.
We want to ask one more time.
Bruce,
Yeah,
how are
how's
you
everybody
doing, by the way? You doing okay, Bruce?
Yeah, I'm doing good. All right.
So what's up?
So yeah, I heard you saw me pop in and pop out. I was listening to, I think it was Roger, it's called time earlier, and yeah, I've done a few of those types of things where we've found the owner or the previous owner after foreclosure sale for the overage, and basically you guys covered what I was going to add to it, so I popped out. But yeah, appreciate it, and I think that's a great strategy to add to your tool belt for sure. That if you're out researching heirs, that can be quite a bit of money. That's just sitting there at either the county or state level for sure.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate that, and it's always good to hear from you. Hey, I want to encourage you all to make sure to stick around. We're going to get through the callers, and at the very end, we're going to close with an update on the cash advance program. So stick around to the end of the call. We usually have most everybody hanging out till then, but got some things to talk about there as well. Kind of a little teaser to do that. Have the next person in the queue is phone number ending in 1132. You're up. Ed Mosley.
Hey, how you doing? Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. My question is, I got almost 1,000 different probates that I'm dealing with right in the Chicagoland area, in Chicago, period, not in the suburbs. What I wanted to know, when I first got in as an agent, I was spending a lot of money on direct mail. And then we went into texting, and then I got into a marketing program where I was able to get the phone numbers. But then when they came up with the call list and all this other stuff that you can get hit and get sued by, what my question is this: you have, if I got 1,000 probates and I want to attack this list, what is the best economical way to start with the direct mail? Because a lot of times when I go to my P.O. box, I get all of these postcards and a lot of letters that come back. The addresses are wrong or whatever. And like I know, if you go through the formula that I was taught, where it's anywhere from 6 to 14 touches, that's a lot of mail that you're sending out. So that may be the old way of doing things. I'm just wondering if you guys give me any advice. If I'm going after 1,000 probates, should I even be looking at that number, or should I decrease my number to, say, for instance, maybe 500 probates, and then work on the low-hanging fruit? Or what should be my ultimate goal? Because there's a lot of money to be made in Chicago. And if you just look at what I just came up with, 1% of 1,000, that's 10 possible deals that I could have in any 1 month. So, do I need to spend even more money, less money, get an ISA involved, or what?
So you just need to send us a blank check, and we'll take care of it for you. Will that work? So let me ask you a question. How old are the probates that you're dealing with?
Well, what I did is, with this company that I work with here in Illinois, I went back from March 1st of 2021, and the last date that I put in was for December 31st of last year. So that's a good 9 months of probate.
Right. So couple of quick suggestions that I'll make. First of all, I was certainly being facetious about, send us a blank check, but we obviously are a full service shop. So a couple of things that need to happen with your list is that you need to take the list and you need to purify it. And what I mean by that is you need to do not only address validation, but deliverability. Not guarantee, there's no way to do that, but we're a mail house. We do that. That's one of the services we offer to our subscribers. And, we're certainly willing to work with, if you've got data that you need some help with, we can take that offline and we can help you get that done. Obviously, we
Okay.
have all the data in Chicago, so we already know, who's good, who's not, all that sort of stuff. And we should probably talk to you about what we're dealing with there. But the other side of it is, if you've got older probates that have happened, and in the case that you're with, if you want to look at some economies of scale, realize that the majority of the mailings that are going out early, not late. So the same data that you may be bagging for that, and maybe 80% of them are deliverable in terms of direct mail, without being cleaned up. The majority of them are going to be dealt with that are, maybe less than 90 days old, probably most of them in the first 60. By the time that gets to be a 6-month-old probate, you may be the only one working with them at all. And if your message is clear in regard to the fact that now you may be to the point that you're ready to consider this, what generally happens in that is that you're the only one they're dealing with. And the point of direct mail is always about being at the right place at the right time. You may send the same information out, maybe with a variable on it, 5, 6 times to the same person, and the first 5 times they look at it and it hits the round file. And the last time that you send it out, the surviving spouse is in the home and has had a medical problem, or the house all of a sudden has something that needs to get fixed, and they're like, we just need to sell the house. And it's right place at right time. So it is a multi-touch program. And if you want to do it and want to do it in volume, one of the things that I'll tell you is we're happy to negotiate volume pricing on doing it and put it on a guaranteed drop for you. So, we'll be happy to talk about that. But I think we ought to talk about the service we provide as well. And if you don't mind, maybe after the call, we'll have somebody reach out to you. Is that okay?
That's fine. That's good.
Okay. Bruce, you had something and Chuck had something. Go right ahead, please.
So I'm just going to say, and this is, I want everyone who is listening to this now or after to completely understand that this is number one off the top of my head. Number two, very, very custom for someone with a huge list, and they just need to start with some mail. Your list, some are old, some are new, some are in the middle. I would go straight with a real estate message. Generally, we're offering a concierge kind of help you through the probate process type of message. Considering that you may not have the budget to do 6 to 14 pieces to these people, I would do a biweekly mail with 3 touches and let that be really focused on real estate. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the body of any mail that you send out, the main message, and focus it almost exclusively on real estate. Here's 2 things that I can do to help you if you have real estate that you need to sell. Sign it, and then put a PS. And the PS should say, by the way, if you're not ready to deal with the real estate yet, here's 2 or here's 3 other services that I can offer. And just line item those 3 services, 1, 2, 3, with like a more of a headline style. So instead of explaining every single one of those additional services, you want to just kind of headline it. And so you need that help message in there. But if budget is a concern, get that message out there as being a real estate message with 2 or 3 back-to-back mail pieces. Now, in general, if I get a new list, I want my initial letters to be about help, concierge type services, and my PS to be real estate focused. And then my older lists, I normally go real estate focused with a concierge service PS. With you just having one big list that's kind of a mix of new and old leads, just focus those on real estate.
So that help in the concierge letter is basically forming a bond and a trust level period before they even consider the real estate issue.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And a lot of people, they're just not ready to deal with real estate yet. So the help is meeting them where they are. And you have to realize that there are a lot of people that sit on their real estate and sit on their probate process for not months, sometimes years, before they ever do anything at all with any real estate. And it's not everybody, but there are people that aren't ready to even look at a real estate offer yet. And so you've got to have something that meets them where they are. And if you can help them with cleaning the property out or cutting the grass, anything, no matter how small it is, you're going to win some influence and be able to kind of take charge of their process and hopefully get to the real estate a lot faster than if left on their own.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay,
Chuck?
so this is
Chuck?
Yeah, this is Coach Chuck. So one of the things you really want to be able to focus on, since you have such a large list, that's a massive amount of data for 1,000 particular cases, right? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to filter that list, and I want to target and look for any of the personal representatives that are out of state, because an out-of-state PR is going to have the most likely potential for needing the most amount of help dealing with the particular case. Of course, that PR could have family that's local to the Chicago area, and that's fine. But if you want to filter that list down, I would basically take it from the most recent file, and I'd be filtering anything that's out of state, and I would take that chunk and I'd go first, because they're going to need the most amount of help.
All right.
Yep. You could do the same thing with zip codes and towns. Anybody that's that's an hour or more away from the property is normally finding it to be a huge inconvenience to deal with things.
Yep. Yeah. Start the farthest away and start to come closer to Chicago, but definitely out of state, then out of county, out of area, and then move your way in. And that'll help you prioritize your marketing efforts.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome advice.
Thank you.
Guys, it's 1:53. I think we'll close the queue up here. It's been a great call, but I want to talk a couple of seconds here about the cash advance program. So we had announced previously and have discussed on the call previously that one of the things that you can add to your value as a person contacting folks who are going through probate, and we constantly seek to add value to that. And so we've worked with the group that provides that and provides cash advances. We've gone back to them recently and said, we've had some folks that have gone through the program. It's been great. They responded quickly, much more quickly in a lot of cases than any other third-party vendor that we work with. So they've done a great job with that. But I also became aware and began thinking about this, that they're doing in some cases, they have a flat cash advance that they were offering, which is that if they're able to put money out to your customers who, have an immediate need before it closes, to get some money out of the equation and be able to provide for the needs of the folks who are going to inherit property, they'll advance against the will. They'll advance even against property that needs to get sold. They're willing to wait for a while for their money, and they do it at a favorable rate. They make money, obviously, on the interest that's there, but they put the money in the hands of the people that need it more quickly. And that gives you the ability to differentiate yourself from others in that marketplace that are vying for the same business. It gives you something additional to talk to. Oh, by the way, in settling this estate, anybody in the air chain there that is really critical for money right now, and of course the executor of the estate, the personal representative, their job is to get it closed, and they're the ones who are feeling all that pressure. So that may be a pain point for them because they've got that relative who's like, when are you going to get this closed? When are you going to get this done? I got to get some money. I got something I got to get done. So we went back to the cash advance folks and said, I've noticed that you're agreeing that you may lend up to $500,000 on an estate that's yet to come. And they said, yes, that's correct. And I said, well, in those kinds of circumstances, that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense for our folks to refer that to you for a $300 fee. So what I'm telling you is that by this time next week, we expect to have a new structure with that, come back to you with a tiered structure so that there are opportunities for a significant amount of money for that. And you may find 2 or 3 heirs in a probate case that need money quickly. And we've had people do a really good job of getting that done. So I just want to point out to you that we continue to work on that sort of stuff. And I think that's something that would be good for all of you to be considering adding. We're going to be adding that also to all of our marketing letters, making it a feature of that so that you can offer that in terms of your written communication where it becomes important and appropriate based on the content of the marketing letters that we provide for you. So that's something that we're working on right now, and I thought it was important to kind of give you a quick update on that. And Jim, with that, bud, I'm going to kick it back to you to do your usual delightful and exciting close.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to particularly thank those that actively participated, and I want to challenge each of you, take one thought, one idea, one thing that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Thanks for being here. Make it a great week, and we will talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care, everybody.